And hello, I think we can start now. We are just waiting on one of our panelists, but I'm sure she'll be joining us shortly. So before we begin, thank you so much for taking your time out and joining the NDC Hub session. My name is Shanila Saniok, and I would I'm very happily welcome you to the NDC Hub session on NDC achievements and progress in the Pacific region, hosted by the Global Green Growth Institute. Today's event is part of the Global Green Growth Week, which is GGGI's annual global conference designed to promote knowledge sharing on the green growth agenda. Now, this conference is organized in the margins of GGGI's Assembly and Council joint sessions, and this year's event is taking place under the theme of unlocking the potential of green growth and climate finance innovations. Before we start, I would like to give a few quick housekeeping details, and then I will give the floor to our presenters. So the first point is that while GGGI, of course, we are certainly pleased to host the event and provide support for the events, the content and opinions expressed are those of the presenters. Second, I would like to remind the presenters to please keep your microphone on only during the presentation and then on mute when not speaking. For the other participants, please always mute your microphone, as this will help minimize background noise. Third, please note that the event is being recorded and the recordings will be available on the event website after the events. Lastly, please do feel free to share your questions and comments in the Q&A board or the chat room, and we will address this directly. If you, however, have any technical questions, please also feel free to type them in the chat, and our colleague is going to assist you. Now, without further ado, I'm very pleased to get today's session started. We will begin with a presentation and conclude the session with a panel discussion with experts from around the Pacific region. However, before the presentation, GGGI's President and Chair, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, is going to share with us special remarks. From HQ, can we please have the video message played now? Thank you.
Excellencies, distinguished participants and guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome all of you to this year's Global Green Growth Week, organized by the Global Green Growth Institute. Your participation is evidence that we, the global community, demand climate action, and I want to thank you for doing your part to drive and empower green growth. The climate crisis is perhaps the defining crisis of our times. Every year, we can read and hear more and more about the devastating impacts of extreme weather systems, and this year is proving to be one of the worst years yet, with the record floods, the droughts, and the heat waves, all of which lead to displacements from homes, food crises, and wildfires that disrupt and destroy the lives of millions. We are destroying our hope for a better future, and we need to work together to save our planet. I'm pleased to know that so many of you are coming together to exchange ideas, solutions, and best practices on how to advance the implementation of the Paris Climate Change Agreement, the framework which I helped establish during my time as the Secretary General of the United Nations. I'm especially pleased to know that many of you are joining from all corners of the world, including Africa, Asia, Latin America, the Middle East, and the Pacific, and many of the solutions to be discussed are coming from women and indigenous communities who are most affected by climate change. I encourage you to take full advantage of Global Green Growth Week and engage with one another as green growth champions and practitioners. The climate crisis will require collaboration and collective action from each and every one of us, because climate change knows no borders, and climate change does not discriminate based on race or social class. We can transform our economies and societies and leave a better future, a sustainable and inclusive future, only if we work together. The challenges will be difficult and there are no shortcuts, but if we work together urgently, I think we can do it. As I have said before, there is no plan B because there is no planet B either. I hope you will join me to make the world a better place for future generations. I wish you very fruitful and successful events during Global Green Growth Week. Thank you.
I think you're on mute.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, Rebecca. Yes, I was just saying that now I would like to hand over to you to kickstart the presentation. Over to you.
So, thank you so much. Can you all hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you, but probably your screen is still loading.
Yes, here. Now here you should be able to see.
Yes.
And here is the, now you can see the full screen.
Yes, we can. Thank you so much. Over to you.
So thank you so much. Hi, everybody. I'm grateful to be giving this short presentation with a bit of background about the NDC Hub, our work today, achievements, lessons learned, and plans going forward. My name is Rebecca, and I'm an advisor with the NDC Hub through GIZ, the German Development Corporation. So just starting with a bit of background about the NDC Hub. The Regional Pacific NDC Hub supports 14 Pacific Island countries in implementing and enhancing their NDCs under the COP21 Paris Agreement. Fundamental to the NDC Hub is that we're demand-driven. So the hub is by the Pacific and for the Pacific. This was seen as the idea of the NDC Hub originated from Pacific leaders in 2017, who called for a platform to support them in implementing and enhancing their NDCs. Following that, Fiji's Honorable Prime Minister Bainimarama launched the NDC Hub at COP23 in 2017. And here you see the Honorable Prime Minister officially launching the NDC Hub's office, which was opened in 2020. Throughout the NDC Hub's presence, we've been honored to enjoy high-level support and endorsement from our donor countries, the Germany, Australia, and New Zealand, with initial support from the United Kingdom, as well as Pacific leaders who've really done a lot to endorse our work. Here you see, for example, in the bottom left, our donor countries and Pacific leaders launching the NDC Hub's long-term strategy until 2030. And in the top right, you see the launch of the NDC Hub's logo at the UN Climate Action Summit in New York 2019. So a bit of background on the NDC Hub. The hub has 14 member countries, and we work directly with one focal point from each member country, who are high-level government representatives from the ministry responsible for climate change and environment in each country. The NDC Hub is guided by a steering committee consisting of one representative from each Pacific sub-region, as well as Fiji as the host country. The NDC Hub is generously funded by the governments of Germany, Australia, and New Zealand. And we're implemented by a quite unique partnership of 4 organizations. So GIZ is the lead implementing partner. And then we have SBC, the Pacific Community, SPREP, the Pacific Regional Environment Program, and of course the Global Green Growth Institute. And we all sit together in offices based both in Fiji and in Samoa and work together to support the Pacific. Under the NDC Hub's long-term strategy, we have the vision for the Pacific as a sustainable, low-carbon and climate-resilient Pacific. So this is really what guides us in our work. Similarly, under our long-term strategy, we work on 4 key strategic objectives, which guide all the requests and activities we implement in Pacific Island countries on a demand-driven approach, of course. So this is firstly improved NDC planning, policy, strategy, and legislation, which is, for example, support to updating NDCs or developing NDC implementation roadmaps. Secondly, we work with strengthened enabling environment for NDC implementation. For example, ensuring that NDC targets are mainstreamed with existing plans, policies, and legislation. We work with accelerated project and program implementation. Which is support to smaller projects such as biogas installation, biogas system installation, or retrofitting solar panels. Finally, and importantly, we work with enhanced measurement, reporting, and verification systems for transparent reporting on climate action to really help Pacific Island countries transparently report on their ambitious emissions reductions. So with these 4 strategic objectives guiding our work, I'll just give a bit of an overview of how we follow this demand-driven process to support Pacific Island countries. So through rounds where we invite all Pacific Island countries to submit requests for support, outlining that to the NDC Hub, which outline their highest identified priority needs for NDC related support. Once we've received all these requests for support from countries, we then work as the NDC Hub to review the requests and divide them out between our 4 implementing partners, according to each partner's technical expertise. Each partner then works directly with the focal point in the country, as well as other relevant stakeholders in the country, to develop, scope out, and implement this request through technical expertise, to really ensure that the request that's finally implemented fits what countries had imagined, and fits their ongoing work. So to look at a bit of our growth and development, we've had 3 project phases. We're in the early stages of our 3rd phase, which started in July 2022. And here you can just see our gradual increase as we started from 14 country requests during the 1st phase, grew to 22 requests, and now for the 3rd phase, we're busy planning out and starting the implementation of 25 country requests. We've been grateful to receive a similar growth in funding during these 3 phases, starting from 2.2 million euro, going to 6.1 million, and now we're grateful to have 6.85 million euro. And this is, of course, the combined funding from each of our donors when you add it together. So, having given a bit of background, I'll just highlight a few of the achievements that that Pacific Island countries have achieved with support from the NDC Hub through the past 2 phases. Starting with enhanced NDCs, the NDC Hub has supported Samoa and Tonga to submit their updated NDCs to the UNFCCC. These updated NDCs include enhanced mitigation targets and robust adaptation targets. Similarly, they include expanded sectoral coverage. So both Samoa and Tonga expanded their coverage to address the agriculture, forestry, and other land use sector, as well as the waste sector, to really increase the potential for emission reductions. Similarly, the NDC Hub has supported Vanuatu and PNG to include quantifiable adaptation targets in their NDCs. And this ensures, of course, a targeted work towards achieving adaptation goals. If we look at investment plans, the NDC Hub has supported the development of investment plans in Fiji, Kiribati, Tonga, Tuvalu, and Samoa over the past 2 phases. And when you add together the combined amount of investments identified across these 5 countries, we have 2.3 billion USD in identified investments. And these investment plans include tangible mitigation and adaptation projects, which, if implemented, can help each country achieve the targets outlined in their NDCs. And when we stay with these 5 investment plans in the same 5 countries, when you take the adaptation and mitigation plans included in these investment plans, they have the potential to save a combined 4.8 million tons CO2 in total by 2030, combined across all 5 countries. And annually after 2030, they have the potential to save more than 900,000 tons CO2 across all 5 countries, if these mitigation and adaptation plans are implemented. The NDC Hub values broad engagement. So throughout our past 2 project phases, the Hub has engaged more than 1,300 individuals from across the Pacific, of which 47% are women. So in addition to working with government officers, the Hub strives to work with government officers from different ministries who are not typically engaged with climate change, and similarly strives to work with private sector, civil society organizations to really maintain this broad engagement. So with that, I'll jump in and give a bit more of a specific example, focusing on Mr. Courtney Lucan Jr., who very kindly shared this quote from his engagement with the NDC Hub support. The NDC Hub supported a measurement verification an MRV system in the Marshall Islands, and Courtney took part in the training that was associated with this. So Courtney kindly says, measurement, reporting, and verification is very important in pursuing sustainable and resilient development as the RMI aims for net zero emissions. I worked with government officers from many different ministries, and after this training, we feel more confident in collecting the data. So we're grateful for this more tangible example of the Hub's work. Similarly, the NDC Hub values gender and social inclusion. When countries submit requests for support to the NDC Hub, they're asked to already at this early point identify how the support can include considerations for gender and social inclusion to ensure this is considered at early stages. If we take one example, more than 1,000 students, of which 54% were female, will have access to clean energy as a result of the installation of biogas systems at 2 schools in Vanuatu. Similarly, by installing these biogas systems, it frees up time which is often spent by women collecting firewood and creates a much cleaner environment. With that, looking a bit at our aims for the 3rd project phase, which is going to last until September 2024. As I mentioned, the NDC Hub will be supporting 25 country requests. Similarly, valuing capacity development, the NDC Hub will be hosting 9 trainings during the 3rd phase, as well as 8 events. And during this phase, we're really building on lessons learned that we've gathered from the past 2 phases of implementation. Some of these lessons are really the value of being demand-driven and maintaining national ownership. So the Hub is really based on what Pacific Island countries need and agile, fitting to how their needs might change. In the same way, valuing Pacific ownership is really important, being by the Pacific and for the Pacific. Maintaining partnerships and coordination, exemplified firstly through our partnership of 4 implementing partners, and similarly working with external partners with our aim to be a coordinating entity for NDC-related support in the region. Finally, the importance of regional capacity development is an important lesson learned. So with that, thank you very much for your time. I think we'll have a question and answer session afterwards, and I'm very happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca, for your presentation and giving us a very good overview of Pacific Island countries and NDC Hub's progress regionally and over the past few years. So your presentation, of course, has provided us with a lot of insights on the current NDC ambition and progress in the Pacific. And of course, like Rebecca mentioned, if anyone has any questions for her, please feel free to raise your hand, or if you want, you could put it in the chat and we would address this directly. We have about 3 minutes. If we do not have, however, any questions at this point, very happy to move on and we can proceed to the next session, but I'll give it a few more seconds just to see if anyone comes up with any questions. Okay, thank you. So I think we can now move on to the next session, which is the panel discussion component of this session. And to chair this, I'm very pleased to introduce the chair of the panel discussion, who is Ms. Vanda Fasoa Chanting. Ms. Chanting is the technical advisor for the NDC Hub at the Secretariat of the Pacific Regional Environment Program, or SPREP, and today she's joining us from Apia, Samoa. Ms. Vanda, now I hand over to you to lead us through the panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shanila. Talofa, everyone. Hello, welcome to our panel discussion during this session. So you've been given a snapshot on what the NDC Hub is doing in the Pacific region. And so I'm very happy to be able to have some of our NDC Hub focal points join us for the panel discussion this afternoon here in Samoa. In the Pacific, I think this was mentioned by my colleagues Shanila and Rebecca. There are 3 sub-regions. So we have Micronesia, Melanesia, and of course, Polynesia. So I just wanted, if you ladies, please could just turn your cameras on. We have representing the Melanesian subgroup, Ms. Deborah Sungi from Papua New Guinea, or PNG. She's the manager of the monitoring, reporting, and verification team at the Papua New Guinea Climate Change and Development Authority. She is also, Ms. Deborah, is the chair of our NDC Hub steering committee for the next year. And representing the Polynesian subgroup, we have from Samoa, Ms. Toyata Peluwili. She is the head of the Renewable Energy Division under the Ministry of Natural Resources here in Samoa. Talofa, and welcome, ladies. And we initially had the representative from the Micronesian subgroup, Mr. Kirata Tekiera from Kiribati. Unfortunately, he sent in his apologies that he won't be able to make the start of our session. So hopefully he can join us later. Otherwise, if you have any questions for Kirata, please do email Shanila. Okay, without further ado, I think I see Toyata has her camera on. So I will be posing now the first question to you, Ms. Toyata. The NDC Hub's Strategy 2030 that Rebecca had mentioned in her presentation highlights the Hub's vision to continue servicing the Pacific region up to 2030 and beyond. In your opinion, what is the way forward for the NDC Hub to support Pacific Island countries, particularly in relation to how accessing climate finance will support your country, Samoa, in realizing your NDC targets? Over to you, Toyata. Thank you.
Toyata, excuse me, your mic switched off.
hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Madam Chensing and Shanila and everyone, and also Rebecca for that wonderful presentation. I think that sums up the role of Pacific NDC Hub. And thank you everybody who's attending this session. I think for the question that's been posed for Samoa, the NDC Hub has done a lot of work, and from our point of view, or from us suggesting way forwards for the Pacific NDC Hub to support Pacific Island country in accessing climate finance, I think we've all had a bit of a share of a lot of challenges that we're facing in terms of having a lengthy process in accessing climate finance. But a way forward from us is that we've noticed, and we've also know that there are some of the regional organizations within the Pacific NDC Hub that are accredited entity to these funding sources such as the GEF and the GCF. So what we proposed was a way forward for the Pacific NDC Hub to become an accredited entity. Or maybe not the entity, but then a body, if that makes so. That is working in collaboration within our country, with our country accredited entities to assist the country's requests, especially accessing the readiness funds or program. Having said that, because we have this, and personally, I think, because we have this idea when we set up the Pacific NDC Hub that it is a one-stop shop for all Pacific Island countries. And we would like to see that. Although we know that there are guidelines and protocols and processes to become an accredited entity, but having that's one shop for our needs, it's very important. It is also another way forward, building onto that, is for the Pacific NDC Hub to look at other ways to market the hub to other donor partners, and ensuring that we're able to have those funding available to us. Another way forward, and that will be the last one, is to ensure that we have that better coordination within our internal government institutions and also our bilateral partners and all the other stakeholders involved. I would like to use the CFAM program as an example. This approach of having the in-country advisors embedded within the focal point office nationally is very helpful, and I would highly recommend it, because then countries can now have, that extra help, that extra support, and to assist us in matching the country's requests with the right donor, given the time frame. And the advisor will also be helping in developing concept notes, full proposals that are all related to NDC targets. And this will avoid sort of duplication of activities that we've already mapped out in most of our, but at the same time, building the capacity of our local and our national partners, but also building that trust and relationship amongst our partners and our stakeholders. So those are just some of the way forward from Samoa's point of view that we would like the hub to support us in accessing climate finance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Toyota, for those reflections. Interestingly, the recommendation for the hub to be GCF accredited, and of course, Jeff and all the other big donors, has been duly noted. Now, I also see Talofa and welcome Deborah. Now, before I move on to Deborah, I just wanted to follow up with this line of discussion with you, Toya. So it's interesting how, with your experience and also with what the NDC Hub has done in Samoa, could you please quickly outline, for the information of our audience this afternoon, if you could outline the assistance Samoa has received from the NDC Hub for phase 2, but also then if you also want to summarize which requests or what types of requests Samoa has submitted to the NDC Hub for phase 3 that started in July this year. Then after that, we will move on over to Ms. Deborah. Over to you, Toya. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Cheng Tin, for that. Also, I would like to acknowledge as well the assistance that we've got through the hub in terms of the phase 2 of for Samoa. For Samoa, we've already we've received the assistance in terms of through GGGI in terms of having our enhanced NDC. Of developing our enhanced NDC, which we've submitted it in July last year. We've also developed a roadmap and investment plan for NDC Hub. So this will be made available online soon. So those were the those were the assistance we received. But in the roadmap and investment plan, we're very fortunate that we've also highlighted in that roadmap all the mitigation opportunities as well as adaptation opportunities for Samoa to reach its goal. So in the roadmap, we have 21 mitigation opportunities for Samoa, and in the third phase that we're working towards, we're very fortunate as well with the assistance from SPREP as well, in which we've looking into energy efficiency. One of the mitigation priority under the within the roadmap is looking at energy efficiency program for the tourism sector, as well as an agroforestry program. So those are some of the key priorities for Samoa. But in that roadmap, that does not mean that some of the other mitigation opportunities are not prioritized, but given the fact that there is support in those areas from our key partners, we're very fortunate with that, and we're very appreciative of the fact that there is available funding for Samoa to assist us in that. So looking forward to working together with everyone on that. And having said that, it's a long road for us, but I know that with the support that the Pacific NDC Hub has managed to tailor towards what the Pacific Island needs has helped us a lot in engaging and in ensuring that our NDCs are being implemented and also developed in a way that we're able to submit it to UNFCCC. Thank you very much, Madam.
Thank you very much, Ms. Toyota of Samoa. And for now, we would like to move over to the representative of the Melanesian subgroup, Ms. Deborah. I think we've already heard from the Polynesian subgroup representative and what the NDC Hub has been doing for one of the countries, which in this case is Samoa. I think our audience is also now interested, Ms. Deborah, in hearing about what the NDC Hub has been able to help PNG with in terms of your NDC implementation activities under the previous phases, but also if you could touch on what PNG and the NDC Hub will be working together on in this current phase that started in July. Please, Deborah, the virtual floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Wanda. And I'm not sure if you guys can hear me clearly. I'm caught up in a vehicle waiting to go into another meeting. So my apologies for that. But yeah, just an update on what we have in country in terms of the support that we've received so far from the NDC partnership. So you will note that through the NDC partnership, regional partnership, we have also worked in terms of developing our implementation plan with the support from the partnership. We've actually developed the implementation plan that was annexed to our NDC, Enhanced NDC for Papua New Guinea 2020. And I think the implementation plan, or some call it the investment plan, gives us a better understanding in terms of how and where we can, identify the activities and having the required budget that we will be needing. And also it provides to us the funding mechanisms that are available, and it gives a clear framework to us and also to partners who will be assisting us in terms of developing and implementing our NDC activities going forward to reach our target. So that's a very, very crucial assistance also the technical assistance that we've reached so far, worked with the NDC partnership together with the regional partnership. We commend the work that we have been doing with the partnership. Currently, the program that we are now working with the partnership, who have actually gone ahead and a step further in terms of assisting us to actually implement 2 of our key quantifiable targets under our NDC. So Papua New Guinea NDC mitigation targets focus on the AFULU sector and the energy sector. So under the AFULU sector, we currently have in support now with the partnership through SPREP, who will be implementing with us, is on the sustainable development policy for coffee. This is one of our quantifiable target or policy frameworks under the NDC targets for AFULU. And also the other support that we are currently receiving now from the NDC partnership is the support in terms of developing the framework for implementation of our national sustainable land use policy. So that will assist us in terms of developing a set of regulations for us to ensure that we implement fully the national sustainable land use policy. So these are the 2 current programs that we are working with the partnership, and I think it's a good initiative. And also, given that Papua New Guinea is currently the chair now for the steering committee, we're looking forward to developing these initiatives going further, and also working together with other Pacific Island countries through the partnership to implement and gain support as much as we can to progress our NDCs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Deborah. I think on behalf of Shanila and the team, we would like to thank you very much for availing yourself to answer our questions. And I would just like to ask you a following question, please, Ms. Deborah, before your next meeting. Yes, and before I ask you, I would also like to offer our congratulations again for Papua New Guinea now being the chair of our NDC Hub steering committee. So the next question then for you, Ms. Deborah, is along those lines. So the NDC Hub now has recently elected a new all-female steering committee. How do you foresee your leadership guiding the NDC Hub's work towards increased focus on gender and social inclusion? Over to you, Ms. Deborah. Thank you.
Thanks, Wanda. An interesting question. And I guess with the whole set of females now in the steering committee, we are excited. And also being the chair, we are very, very excited. And I'm not sure if we define this as gender equality, but we are excited as all female crew to drive this work going forward. I think it's an era that we females in the Pacific especially, we traditionally have our norms and challenges, cultural challenges that holds back a lot of females. But I think with a lot of support and developments in terms of the gender inclusivity, we've seen a lot of progress, and I'm pleased to work together with the all-female crew to drive this progress going forward in terms of the support from the NDC partnership. I guess for us, in terms of driving the gender equality or advancing gender equality under the NDC partnership framework, you will note as well from a lot of the submissions, or mostly I'd say from the Pacific Island countries, we have, apart from our mitigation targets, we have also our adaptation quantifiable targets, which we, as small island developing countries, or as from the Pacific, we face mostly every day of our life. Practically most of our population live along the coastline. So for us, women and children are the most vulnerable when it comes to the real impacts of climate change. we face it every day, and as being women, that we understand those challenges. I guess the responsibility on us is timely, I'd say, and also having that practical experience of dealing with what our women face in terms of their everyday life in the village along the coastline will push us further in terms of ensuring that we speak for them in these existing frameworks that are available for us in the region, or the platform, which is the partnership that we are sure that the partnership will help us to generate support from partners, that we can push the work of ensuring that gender inclusivity in terms of implementing our NDCs is progressing as per our target. And you will note as well that all our NDCs have been, or NN's NDCs have been very inclusive of gender, women and youth. So we would like, in respective of what each target for each of the countries in the Pacific, we would like to progress this further in terms of having that inclusivity in the discussions on all activities of the implementation. So that's something that we all women look forward to through this partnership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deborah, for those statements. And especially now heading into COP27, it's quite encouraging to see yourself in the leadership position that you are now, but also our other women negotiators from around the region, pushing for issues and especially impacts that we know are affecting our everyday life, especially when it comes to our young ones. Okay, so we've heard from the country representatives, or the NDC Hub focal points representing the regions. Now, I think for the information of the audience, you probably would also want to hear just a short, I guess, statement from one of our colleagues who works with us in the NDC Hub, and would like now to invite Mr. Ron Simpson. Ron is currently the adaptation advisor for the NDC Hub at GIZ. And I think, it's good to hear from both sides. So we've heard from the ladies, are pushing the work on the ground, having their NDCs enhanced and submitted, and also pushing to have all the NDC activities implemented. Now, from your end, Ron, can you, for the information of everyone on the call, share your top 2 best practices and lessons learned in NDC implementation in the Pacific via the work you've done under the NDC Hub? And the top 2 best practices and lessons learned don't have to be necessarily positive, Ron. We all learn from what we do, both negative and positive. So you have the virtual floor, Ron. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vanda. Thank you very much. Hey, good afternoon, everybody from Fiji. It's a pleasure to be chucked into the mix with all our beautiful ladies this afternoon. But yeah, those are very important questions, Vanda, and let me try to share briefly, from what we've done over the last 2 phases, and how we can take this into the next phase of the projects and the NDC efforts in moving forward. I was thinking about it, and I remember a statement one of my lecturers made while we were at uni. And he said, managing the environment is all about managing people. And I think there's some truth to that. Managing the environment is all about managing people. I think the essence of that statement is about building sustainability in our projects and really strengthening efforts on the ground, strengthening relationships on the ground. And I think that highlights the value and the importance of people and relationships as an important part of the journey to achieving, NDC targets and our climate objectives and commitments. I don't know if Rebecca's going to chuck up a little photo to really reinforce this particular reflection. But the value of building relationships and strengthening communication within countries, I think, is key for any successful project or any successful undertaking. Over the last 2 phases and into the 3rd phase, I think we got a really good team at the NDC Hub, and one of our, let me say, one of our foundations, or one of the backbones of the efforts is having good relationships with the countries, with our focal points and our colleagues that we work with in the islands. Oh, there you go. Now I can see that photo, and 3 handsome gentlemen. That's myself there, with Director Mike from Vanuatu, and Director of Environment in Niue, Hayden. This is us having a quick catch up and a hangout at the last focal point meeting that we had in early September. It's so much better than, all the online meetings, and it's always good to meet the buddies or meet focal points face to face, and colleagues. And we found out that we were in university at the same time, and it really strengthens, and so now in going back to our different offices, there's that relationship, there's that special bond that we have. And initially it was very, very formal greetings, but now it's like chatting as if we knew each other forever. And so COVID has, caused a little setback, but it's good to be meeting face to face again whenever we can. And as people of the Pacific, we are on this journey together. We like to talanoa, we like to catch up, we like to have, a bowl of kava, cup of tea to sit down, because we are very communal. And I think that's a strength that we have, and it is a very, very valuable part of helping achieve our NDC targets. So sorry for taking long, but that's point number 1. I think another best practice, or a good lesson learned in moving forward, would be spending time intentionally to have bilateral discussions and good communication within the countries. We all know the value of communications, and if communications is poor, even in family settings, in any setting, if communication is poor, then nobody's going anywhere, right? And so I think to refine the scope of work and the heart behind the country requests for implementation, I think good communication is key. And this is stuff that we've learned in phase number 1 and phase number 2. And we want to refine and strengthen in moving forward into phase number 3. Again, clear refining and focusing of the objectives and the heart of the requests is key. So this is all behind communication. The more we communicate, the more we, get down to the heart behind the requests, to the heart behind the commitments, answering the big question, why? If we know the purpose, if we know the heart, if we know the objectives behind the requests, then it simplifies our focus, and simplifies our energy and our resources. The need for alignment as well, comes into the picture, how we need to align the policies, aligning NDC targets to, let's say, SDGs, climate change policies, the national adaptation plans, and so on and so forth. This will also help minimize duplication, and it strengthens networking and multi-sectoral awareness and engagement. My second point is just to help refine the scope of work and the heart behind the country requests. We need to have clear and effective communications with our focal points and our regional colleagues. It's absolutely critical to achieving our NDC targets, and especially in moving forward into this 3rd phase. Sorry for rambling off a bit, but I think that's 2 very important best practices and lessons learned. Vanda and everybody in terms of moving forward. Vinaka.
Ron, I think you've hit the mark right there. I do totally agree with you. In any relationship, communication is key. And I think we all know from the work that we're doing, under the NDC Hub, the work that the focal points are doing in ensuring that these activities are implemented and keeping these communication lines open with us at the NDC Hub is crucial to ensuring that we deliver for them the request that they'd asked of the NDC Hub. So thank you so very much, Ron, for sharing those thoughts. I see that I've been told there are 4 more minutes left. So I just have one more question. And I think this is very important. The representative from the Polynesian subgroup, Toyota, has sort of touched on this. And so I'd really like to hear from you, Deborah, for the last time during our session, your thoughts. In your role and experience as a national expert for Papua New Guinea, where do you see a need for further capacity development to accelerate NDC implementation in the Pacific? Deborah, if you're still online, that would be our final question for the session before I hand over to Shanila for formal closing. Thank you very much, Deborah.
I'm still online, but actually on the road driving to the Australian High Commission for my other meeting, but I'll just speak of as the experience from my role being played as the country national coordinator, I guess from the experience which we've said amongst the other partners through the partnership which we shared with other countries in terms of developing the NDCs is, I think the main takeaway that we have experienced through this process is effective coordination and collaboration. I think it came out as the bigger elements to how we progress our enhanced NDC through a very difficult time in the event where the world was faced with the COVID. We had difficulties in terms of getting stakeholders together and developing the documents or the enhanced NDC over a very short period of time. But we managed this in terms of ensuring that there's effective coordination and collaboration through the partnership, through the stakeholders. So that is the main takeaway that in terms of parties or countries that are yet to develop their enhanced NDC or would want to review the targets again. I think that's something that we would all be calling for, and our leaders will be calling for in the upcoming COP in Egypt, where we would want to see some more effort being given in terms of enhancing NDCs from especially our developed parties. Effective coordination, collaboration is a key element which drive the work of getting the targets of what we would want to achieve within the next 10 years or 8 years time. So that's something that we've learned so far or experienced so far as the
focal point. All right, I think thank you very much, Deborah, for that response. And that brings us right on time. Thank you so very much, everyone. Over to you, Shanila.
Thanks a lot, Vanda, and sincere thanks to all our panelists for sharing their insights on your experience in NDC enhancement and implementation in the region. Please, of course, keep sending in your questions in the Q&A tab or directly in the chat. But just being a bit mindful of time, I will now hand over to Mr. Daniel Munoz-Smith, who is the GGGI country representative for Fiji, Kiribati, Tonga, and Vanuatu, to close our session with some closing remarks and bring us to the end. Over to you, Daniel. Thanks.
Thanks, Shanila. And thank you to all the speakers and all the panelists who have shared a really comprehensive overview of the work and progress of Pacific Island countries, and particularly your countries in enhancing and implementing their NDCs. It was really motivating to hear from the Pacific NDC Hub stakeholders how the Hub is delivering impact in their countries, as well as recommendations for the hub to consider to take forward and ensure an increase in the reach of the impact of this innovative Pacific platform. Because indeed, over the last 2-3 years, as the hub's serviced over 30 country requests from member Pacific Island countries, being guided by its 10-year long-term strategy 2030, the NDC Hub is very well positioned to continue its demand-driven approach to directly respond to requests from its members. And of course, as a next step that builds on the high-level policy work which the Hub has undertaken over the past phases, the past few years, is the implementation of projects on the ground. This is prioritized need for Pacific Island countries to meet their NDC targets and goals. Equally important, as highlighted by the speakers today, is the need to ensure cooperation on gender and social inclusion considerations into projects. We've heard today how important this is, that we need to be doing this from the beginning at the project design stage, and not just towards the end, an afterthought. This is especially relevant and important for ensuring a whole of country progress in achieving national NDC targets and progressing on a path to green growth regionally and globally. And as we've had many discussions here or points here today and discussions throughout GGG week, a key enabling factor in addressing country needs and NDC goals and implementing projects is the mobilization of climate finance. The need to effectively mobilize finance in the Pacific is crucial to realize sustainable development ambitions of countries here in the region. With a significant amount of climate change finance that is available globally, it's important for development partners to channel their support to Pacific countries to develop project concepts and proposals, build robust project pipelines that are aligned with national priorities, and ultimately secure the finance for project implementation. The Hub is well positioned to play this channeling role and provide the needed technical assistance. Additionally, it's been recognized, and we discussed today, that capacity development is at the cornerstone of Pacific development and sustainability. Investments in building national experts is key to helping countries build resilience and adapt to the impacts of climate change. Finally, in preparation for COP21, the agenda that Pacific Island countries are driving is for investment in building resilience in the Pacific region. But of course, this is largely dependent on external support to the Blue Pacific continent. Therefore, I encourage all the participants of today's session and GGG Week to engage and take today's discussions further in support of the region's NDC ambitions and needs. Both are great and both need collaboration and partnership. The Pacific NDC Hub is a great example of what can be achieved in partnership. Thank you, and back to you, Shanila.
Thanks a lot, Daniel, and thank you everyone for joining. We're right on time, so just to wrap up, on behalf of the Global Green Growth Institute, I would like to thank the presenters and panelists again for today's session. Your time and your expertise shared has been really helpful and is very much appreciated. I would also like to thank our audience again for joining the event, and would like to share that the recordings of this session and all the other sessions of the GGG Week will be available on the GGGI website later as well. In the chat, my colleague Martin has put in that we will have a short evaluation after this session, and if you could please provide your feedback through that, it would be very, very much appreciated. With this, thank you everyone, and wish you a good rest of the day from Fiji. Pinaka.